Hey guys, so my girlfriend and I decided to take on the DIY challenge and install our own vinyl plank flooring. We went with the Lifeproof, which is Home Depot's brand. It already has the backing on it, and it's nice because it's waterproof, so you can install it throughout any room in the house. Also, it's a cheaper alternative than your other options, and it has a nice wood looking finish to it. And it's something you can do yourself. So I want to walk you through some of the rookie mistakes I learned along the way, which hopefully might help you out.
Step one is to ensure your floor is as smooth and level as possible before you start laying any boards. The reason being is this is a floating floor, and if there's any bumps or uneven surfaces, you're going to feel them as you start walking around. I used a Boss jackhammer drill here to start chipping away at all the thin set that was left over from the previously laid tile. You also notice some wet spots on the ground. You're going to want to take a spray bottle and spray down the areas you start chipping. Otherwise, it's going to turn into a huge dusty mess throughout your entire house. You also want to make sure you vacuum up any loose dust left over from the jackhammer and get in deep on those grooves in the boards, because if you don't, the dust particles are not going to allow you a nice tight fit. Your cut should be between 8 and 12 inches from your previous line. In order to make your cut, you can either use an X-Acto knife I usually flip the board over as well and give it a few extra scores on the back side, and simply put my knee on it and snap it on the score line. You can also use a table saw to make your cuts. Although it's obviously a lot more dangerous, it takes a lot less time and it gives you more precise cuts. Now, depending on the weather, whether it's hot or cold, these vinyl planks like to expand and contract. So you want to make sure you leave at least a 1/4 inch gap between the wall and your board here. And you use spacers to do that. You keep that nice 1/4 inch. You slide it in there. Boom. I use a scrap piece to knock my boards in instead of a tapping block, just because it avoids more damage to the board. And then once you're all complete, once the whole room's done, you come back and you're gonna be nailing in 1/4 round, which will cover up that gap. Cleans it up real nice. Got my board, put my spacer in here, slide her in, bump it to the spacer. You get your wall cut done, it's pretty much easy moving until you get to your next wall. Those are the only times you'll be doing cuts. Now, if you'll notice, I'm actually working backwards here. I'm going groove down first and then tongue in second. Typically, you put the tongue down first and then groove second. That's moving forwards, going that way. So when you do your layout, you want to try to set it up to where you have to work backwards as little as possible. But here's proof right here that you can, in fact, work backwards if you need to. You just have to angle the board up to a certain height there, slide right until it bumps, layer down, and then you start tapping it in. Now you see the mallet I'm using. I got a plastic head on this side, rubber on this side. Soft and hard when I need it. I just kind of tap it in down here until she starts laying flatter. Give it a couple hard taps, and then you come down on this end here where it meets the other board, and you use the rubber side, tapping both boards down until she lays flush. I'll even give her a couple honest flat taps. You want that thing flush with no seams. Okay, you'll notice there should be no seams on these boards. Once you get your wall cut done, it's pretty much moving and grooving full length boards until you get to your next wall. That's where you make up time. Your time killers are your measuring and cutting, and that's only going to be done along walls. You also want to make sure you're pulling boards randomly out of a couple different boxes. There's about 4 different styles of boards for this particular set. And you don't want to get in the habit of creating a pattern because patterns are easy to notice once all the flooring's laid. You save the cuts from your starter pieces, the remaining becomes your end piece at the back wall here. So now, a good way to figure out how to make this cut, I flip it, I push it against the wall backwards because that's what's going to be remaining after I cut. And now this tongue here, that's exactly 1/4 inch. So I'm going to use this as my measuring tool to figure out what 1/4 inch is from that wall. So I bump it against the wall, I leave a little bit showing under here so I can see my quarter. Use my speed square, draw a pencil line. You mark what side's the bad side, and I'm gonna go cut it on the saw. A really sharp X-Acto knife, you could use that, but table saw gets you an exact cut, saves your knees, saves you a little bit, well, you gotta get up and down, but you get the perfect cut that you want. So now I come in here, see a little measuring trick, I got the gap I need, and I just tap her in. Rinse and repeat. Smaller tapping block though, of course. Use the piece you cut off as for one of your starters for the next row. Save on waste. Use an oscillating blade or any old saw and a piece of scrap to cut the door casing. You cut it out so it ensures a perfect fit, seamless fit underneath the casing. Don't worry, you're not going to ruin anything. That's how you eliminate all those lines. Boom. Now my next piece will slide under there just right. How do I cut that last piece at the end of a room? It's a small little gap. What I do is I take the board I'm going to lay in there, I'm going to set it on top of the previous board and use a scrap piece as a scribe to stencil out my exact measurement and an exact cut. And it's going to fit in perfectly with whatever wall you may come across.